Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Distance Dilemma podcast. My name is Sean, and I'm in Dublin, Ireland. This is Imran. He is in Thun, Switzerland. This is our long distance friendship podcast. This is episode number 25. Imran, how are you, my friend?
Good. I was thinking, would you remember that it's episode 25? But then I was
Yeah,
like, we always leave these kind of topics to the bigger numbers, so yeah.
yeah.
It's good, no, good
Quarter,
form.
quarter century we're at now. Some podcasts
Yeah.
don't even make it out of the tens, you know?
There you go. That's
I
our
heard,
big time now.
I heard when we started, somebody was like, when we hit like episode 10, it's like most podcasts don't get to episode 10. So like
Yeah.
we're like official now, so we've like gone over double that. And we're
This is one of
celebrating
the
a quarter
ideas that
century.
actually made it out of the group chat.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it. But how has your week been? But
Good, just been working. I started back football like a month ago, five-a-side. I can't go every week because it's on Wednesdays, so that was my second week. And I ordered a pair of football boots online and they didn't come in time, so it's like the second time I've had to play in like runners. And man, the difference like of playing in football boots and runners is the pain in my feet all day today is immense. Because like obviously the shoes aren't made for kicking a ball, so like every time I'm like taking a shot or like a strong pass to the other side of the pitch, my foot is killing. So yeah, but it's good crack. I'm enjoying back into it because we used to do it obviously a lot at home playing together on Mondays. So yeah, it's
yeah,
good fun.
I got a bit bunged up myself in five-a-side on Wednesday. I was I was just riding a tackle. Like somebody went in to tackle me, and I jumped over it, but like I landed really awkwardly on my left foot, and I've like been hobbling since then. So it's Friday now when we're recording this, and I had an event in work yesterday. I was telling him around this before we started recording, where like I was on my feet for like 10, 12 hours, like, now like for the last two we were like sitting around having drinks or whatever, like, but like there was one point where like yesterday I had to leave. We were in the Shelburne and we had to I had to go and walk down to O'Connell Street to collect something, and like I got to Westmoreland Street and I was like, this was a really bad idea. My foot is fucking killing me. Like I was like, because I was like, oh, like this will probably like help loosen up, because I wanted to go to the gym this morning and all as well. And I like, got to Westmoreland Street. I was like, no, sorry, this was a really, really bad idea. And like, I woke up this morning and I woke up at 6:30. I only got in at 1 o'clock and I woke up at 6:30 this morning, and I said, no, my ankle isn't up able for it. And I'm also like, I could feel my body wasn't able for it. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
we're going tomorrow instead.
yeah. Sometimes it's not worth forcing the body through the pain.
Nah. Plus,
It's
I like
actually
I
sorry.
had tracked that I had burnt more calories yesterday than I had gone to the gym on Monday and Tuesday. So
Also
I
balanced
like,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can feel myself getting fitter at five-a-side every week. Like, do you ever get that? Like when you first like get back in, you're probably experiencing it now, where like you're dead because you haven't played it in so long. Because now I'm back on it like a couple of weeks now. Like I'm starting to be able to like do more than just stay in goal the whole game. Like I can actually make a few runs and try and like,
Yeah.
do bits.
The first time I went up, I was absolutely in bits. I remember after like 20 minutes, I was like, oh no, this is not it. Because we play for 2 hours, and we have like maybe a 15-minute break in between. But we have a lot of people that come down every week. Like last week, we did like a 8-a-side game on like a big pitch. So that was like kind of better because I found that I was actually less running. Normally, when we do the five-a-sides, everyone's just chasing the ball like kids, just running around after each other. But I was talking to one of the lads there after we finished. Everyone was just drinking and having some water, and he actually told me that the RTE were in tune because of the Euros tournaments, but they're obviously interviewing people that were in the fan zones, and he was laughing because he was like, they don't realize how many Irish are actually in tune. Like everyone that comes up to the five side is Irish. I think there's one guy from Portugal, one guy from Nigeria, and then another guy from Italy, but everyone else that turns up is Irish. So I just think it's such a funny complex. So like RTE go to all these cities, and like they're thinking like they're in Thun, which is in the middle of nowhere in Switzerland. When you think about it, it's like very far away from all the big cities. And like they're trying to interview people, and they don't realize that there's already like 40 Irish people like in the background in all the footage cameras. Yeah, it's just interesting.
I love how you've just started like a migration football five-a-side over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was saying we also like we jerseys now by the end of the month.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like I've never been so excited for a week to be done. This week
Yeah.
has been crazy busy. Like this is so once we finish recording today, that'll be the first time I've had a bit like more than like an hour free since Sunday.
Yeah,
because it's been
I mean,
been a jam packed week.
Hopefully a nice weekend break for you.
It's me and Simone were like, let's do nothing this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, let's do absolutely nothing. We're gonna obviously watch the Chelsea game because the results will be out by the time this goes out on Monday morning. But we have the Club World Cup final, and we're gonna go over to Ab and Kelties and watch that with them. And up the Chelsea. Come on. I think honestly, I have the same feeling that I had in the Champions League final that against City that time. I'm not expecting us to win it. I've got a good feeling though. I think it could happen.
Not gonna lie, I don't watch the tournament at all. Haven't watched any of it.
It's because you're not in it.
Not even that. I just have no interest in it. I don't count that really as one of the big cups. I know Chelsea have won it before. I know United have won it years ago as well. I just no interest in it. The teams as well, and the fact that it's on in the States as well, it just doesn't work with the time zones as well. Like some of the games are on like during the day when most people are in work.
Yeah, sure. It's the same with the Euros and the normal World Cup. I don't. It's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've watched a couple of the games just because Chelsea are in it, so I've obviously watched. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I've not been available to like with the Premier League and with Champions League and stuff. I set time aside to watch Chelsea games. I'll actively say sorry, I can't do something on that day because I want to watch the Chelsea game. Whereas like this, I wasn't doing that. Like Sunday, yeah, but like on Tuesday, I was playing a gig. So I couldn't do it then, and then like there was one of the weeks before I was at the Catfish gig, when Chelsea were playing. So I didn't like I watched it from the crowd for like half an hour on my phone because like I was waiting for the next band for Catfish to come on, But yeah, sorry, we're talking quite a lot about football here.
Yeah, let's shut up about Chelsea. No one wants to talk about that.
Someone is salty.
No, Finn knows I don't like Chelsea. Yeah. Never liked the club. Anyway. Our topic for this week is important. So, I'll let Sean talk about what the topic is.
Why are you letting me talk about the topic this week?
Well, because you want to talk so much about Chelsea. Let's go.
Okay, so guys, we're going to get into this one kind of earlier in the episode. We usually get into the topic a little bit later. But it's similar to what we've done before. And it's probably just going to take us a little while to get through it, so we're going to dedicate the whole episode to it. This topic for the podcast is why people have not moved away from Ireland. So we did an episode a couple of weeks ago where we talked about why people have emigrated to different countries, mainly from Ireland, but not just from Ireland as well. And Imran got quite a lot of people who are like, he knows in Switzerland that are Irish or like friends from college and stuff. And we got some voice notes, got some emails, got some texts and stuff, and we read them out in the podcast, and we're going to do the same now pretty much for the opposite, and people who had maybe thought about leaving or had planned to leave but then they didn't leave for one reason or another. So yeah, we've got a couple of voice notes to get through, got a couple of messages, and yeah, hopefully you enjoy it. Shout out to anybody who's here just to listen to their own voice for 2 minutes and then leaves. So,
thanks very much.
Cheers, thanks for the support. And thanks for listening to us talk about football. We don't normally talk about football like for all on this podcast ever, really.
He just got excited.
Got excited because we're in the final, baby. Okay, so this is. We're gonna keep everything anonymous as well, by the way, just because it's easier. It's easier to persuade people to do it. So yeah.
It's just a bunch of chickens.
This is our first listener who sent us in a voice note.
Well, when I was younger, I actually did think of maybe emigrating to America. My sister was over there at the time, and I was thinking, oh, I'll go here too. But then life gets in the way. You fall in love, you have a family, you get a job, you just keep going, and before you know it, 40 years has gone by, and I'm still in Ireland. No regrets, but the thought still crosses my mind every so often, and I still go visit my sister. But as to emigrating now at this stage of my life, no. I think I'll just stay put now. But my advice to anybody would be, if you want to do it while you're young, while you have the energy, while you have the money, the time, and don't make excuses and put it off. So best of luck to everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much to that person who sent that in.
I think I took from that at the end was don't make excuses. I know the amount of people I've had conversations with over the years that have like always said they wanted to move away, and they just keep coming up with a reason not to move away. It's like it's crazy. Like I have so many friends that I can think of right now off the top of my head that have said like, "Oh, I'd love to go here, but I won't go because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this."
I'm not
You know
gonna
what I
lie,
mean?
I'd probably fall into that group as well. It's
Yeah,
something that like now, like I've like, it's different now because we have our house and we have like sort of commitments. But I think like I've thought like if I wasn't with Simone, if we didn't have this place and I was still living in Blanche in the box room that I was in, I probably would have taken that plunge. But like and not for when doing it in a relationship, as you well know yourself, you kind of have to be on the same page with it, like
yeah, yeah,
um, and I think I would kind of struggle with it. But we'll get into like kind of like my plans and stuff with it, but like yeah, I get that like I definitely have made excuses not to do it in the past when
yeah.
it's
It,
all worked
it,
out so far.
it is, yeah, it is easier said than done though, you know. Like life can change like in a matter of seconds, and like we talked about before on previous podcasts that things can change quicker than you can plan for, and you don't always have the excuse that maybe other people have. I did also like what she said about like the age factor as well. You know, like I'm presuming that she's at a bit of an older age now. She maybe doesn't have, you know, the financials, maybe the relationships that she had when she was younger, like for it to be accessible for her to move over to the States. I know she said there that she goes over to see her sister a lot, but I think that also comes into play being at a young age like that we are now. This is probably the best time to do this exploring. Obviously, because as you get older, the more responsibilities of a job, a family, marriage, finances all come into play. So that's what I took from it.
It's actually easier to do it when you're broke, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually yeah. When you think about it that way, yeah, maybe it is easier to do it when you're broke. I think you're more inclined then to I don't know try save more, or you know if you're in a partner with if you're like for example for myself like with a partner like we save together to move here, so you've more finances in that terms. So yeah, I don't know, just perspective of it, I suppose.
Cool.
That's good.
Right, we'll move on to the next one. So this was sent in from a listener who actually did move to England back in the day. He didn't go before, and kind of just talks about the different perspectives of what it's like then and now, and like why he's back and stuff. So yeah, we'll go into this one here.
I suppose what I'm trying to explain there is that it was more economic drivers that meant people went away.
Sorry, you have
I
your
think
hand
you
up.
gotta play the first voice message and then play that one. That's my
Oh, okay, right. Sorry,
bad.
sent
Yeah,
it to
yeah.
me in the wrong order. Sorry.
My bad.
The other thing is, in the 1980s, it was pretty grim in Ireland. So people going away to London or America meant they were gone for a long time. It could be over a year for someone to come back from London. Could be 5 years from America, because most people were there illegally. It's a different way of traveling or moving away from home that you've experienced, your generation. So I don't know if it's any good to you.
Typewriter in the background. I think I
I
know what
think
that actually
I think
is.
you can play the second voice message now.
Yeah.
I suppose what I'm trying to explain there is that it was more economic drivers that meant people went away. There was just wasn't work here. Things were pretty grim. Um, if you were anyway outside of the ordinary realms of society, i.e., not Catholic, you were frowned upon. You couldn't be gay. You couldn't play certain sports if you weren't, hadn't gone to a certain school. All that kind of nonsense. Uh, your generation is a bit different. You were traveling for curiosity as well as economic reasons, and your level of knowledge before you travel is far greater. On the other hand, there was great networks for people to tap into in London and in New York, places like that. So that's not really much. That's all I can think of at the moment.
Good,
Right,
interesting
cool.
perspective. I know there's like a typewriter there in the background. It's a dog.
Yeah, I had a feeling I knew who the tapping was in the background.
Yeah. I like the part you said about that our generation moves more for curiosity as well as finances, and that we have a better understanding more of traveling now than how it would have been years ago. Because, like, for example, maybe when this person went to travel away, they didn't have the accessibility of having a phone, like looking up places where maybe there is Irish people, or like being able to, like, everything is so accessible with technology right now. It's a lot easier to travel for our generation, in my opinion. Anyway,
yeah, for sure. I really thought, like, one thing that actually sparked in me was like, in Ireland right now, that voice note was saying, like, one of the major reasons for people emigrating in the 70s, 80s, 90s was because there wasn't enough work. Whereas I feel like that's actually the opposite now.
Yeah.
There's so many jobs in Ireland, but like they're just jobs that don't keep you floating above water, like,
Yeah.
Like, like working in a shop, like, if you like, I think when I think like of my experience in retail, most people who work full time in the shop have partners who have very well paying jobs, and the reason that they work in the shop is because it just, I'm talking full time staff here as well, by the way. Like, no, and I always found like the full time staff are the people who like were just out of school or college, and either stayed there for a year or two to build a bit of experience, or just because it was local while they got to pass their driving test, or were dealing with other stuff in their life, but it's rarer to find like people who are like working on shop floors that are like in their 30s, and there are people that definitely do that, and I'm not like trying to like talk down on that rant like that, but like it's just such a hard way to try and make a livable wage, because those jobs typically pay they pay minimum wage most of the time, like, and the minimum wage at the moment just isn't livable solo anyway, like, that's why I kind of brought in the thing of like people's partners and stuff as well. Like, anybody I know personally who worked full time in retail like that usually had a partner, or they would have like a management position where like they might be on a bit of a higher salary, or like the better, like, to have like a franchising situation where like the better the store does, the better they do and stuff, like, but I think just like the whole like work dynamic is interesting, because like there is so much work available in Ireland right now. It's literally just the work does not pay enough to keep up with how prices are rising across the board. And like it's also like not just an Irish thing. Like I see a lot of people, like, I'm not a Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil supporter in any way, shape or form. I didn't give them any votes in the recent election, like, right, but I do think people throw a lot of like hassle their way when there's stuff that is kind of like out of their control, like stuff like, with the supermarkets putting up their prices. It's like, yeah, but the supermarkets are putting up the price because the price of oil is going up because of stuff that's happening in the Middle East and stuff, like, like it all has a knock-on effect to what you pay at the checkout. Like, there's loads of examples, and there's people who are like far more educated to talk about that sort of stuff than I have any resource or knowledge on, like, but I do think people give a lot of crap to, because it's not just our government, because I'm hearing loads of stories now of people who have gone over to the likes of Australia and Canada and America, and like they get there and they're like, oh my god, it's just as expensive, and obviously yourself, Switzerland's quite an expensive country to live in as well, but that seems to be matched by your wage that you make.
Yeah. As well as something he spoke about was talking about probably like Ireland in the 1980s was very much evolved around the Catholic Church, talking about like Protestants and Catholics, the feud that was happened up the north, also talking about how sex has been viewed and gender, especially in the modern day era in Ireland as well, was something another interesting aspect. You could go off to London, where at that time in London it might have been a bit more experimental and viewed differently to like
you could buy condoms in the 80s in London.
You could buy your condom. Yeah,
you couldn't do that in Ireland. I think condoms only became, I know it was in the 90s, but I think it was like 95 or 98 or something like that. It was really late when condoms became legalized, like,
There's really funny stories about people like trying to hide like hundreds of packets of Johnnies from traveling down from the north, like back into the south of Ireland. Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah, obviously, but, my parents didn't get the memo at the age of 16.
No.
So here we are. Welcome to the distance dilemma.
The dilemma of the condom. But yeah, interesting. Another interesting aspect from that person as well. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So this is from our next listener. This is kind of like nail on the head situation where like I knew this person. Like you'll hear in the voice now had like solid plans to leave Ireland, and then I'll let the voice note do the rest of the explain as to why they did not.
Yeah, so it was just pre-COVID, I suppose, before everything went down, and I was almost finished college, and I had this job planned for the summer. So it was to go to Helsinki, obviously in Finland, and work in. It was a small tech company, but like quite a solid one. So there was potential there. But then obviously when this shit hit the fan, I don't know if I could swear, but I obviously couldn't go, so everything was cancelled. I had apartments lined up. Never mind. I had like flights booked, the whole shebang, like literally ready to go. And yeah, just no longer possible, I suppose. I think as well, it was at the time it was so scary to like I could have probably still went, but like it felt like the world was ending at that time, so it was like more risky to leave. But yeah, I think as well at that time there wasn't a huge amount of creative tech jobs here in Dublin, and that was what I wanted to do, more like web design, all that kind of stuff. And that I don't think there's still a big industry here for. So that was one of the main reasons that I felt like I had to leave. But yeah, I was also young, had no commitments, like I do now. So it was very different then. But it's crazy to think what my life could have been like now if I had went. So yeah, wild.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you very much to that listener who sent that in. It's kind of like similar to what our first listener said, like of having like no responsibilities and like having that freedom to just be able to get up and go, whereas like now, like post pandemic and in the years that followed, like responsibilities did pile up, and there's a lot more keeping them here in Ireland.
I was thinking more as well. Obviously, the common factor there was definitely COVID. I mean, I think a couple of our other listeners mentioned it in the future, as well as she also said about the tech industry. Like a lot, like we were saying there's loads of jobs here, but there's no industries for what you go to college for. Like the amount of my friends that have computer science degrees and can't find a job in computer science in Ireland because the industry is just not there. Or if it is there, they're paying minimum wage, which is struggling for them to survive, which means they can't move out from home, blah 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 blah. So it's like a snowball effect. It's just one thing after the other. But again, like you were saying there, it's interesting as well. A lot of people say when you're that young, you've lack of responsibilities. Where after COVID, it kind of changed a lot of things for how people view things because we were all enclosed for 2 years of our lives that you'll never get back. So yeah, interesting aspect again, I suppose.
I think like the pandemic, like definitely I do like feel the world's a very different place pre and post pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like I feel like even like personality wise, and like myself, like I feel like a very different person. I feel really bad for like people who were in like school and like I like we were in college as well. Like we got to like miss out on like massive parts of like the experiences. Like it's little things like like I feel sorry for like my like cousins who didn't get to like have like a graduation or debs or like like even like little things like like school trips and stuff like that, like stuff that like become like part of your like lore that didn't happen. And like I also feel like it kind of created some habits in people, like being a bit more like I think TikTok like made people addicted to their screens and stuff anyway, like but I think like that really like streamlined people, like and like you see that effect with like the cinemas and concerts and stuff. I feel like concerts have like, while the music industry and concerts and stuff is back, I feel like it's not back to the peak that was at pre-pandemic, like so like yeah, that obviously had a massive effect, and the travel industry would have been massively affected by it as well, like
yeah, I mean we can talk all day about how COVID changed everything for everybody, but I think you were saying there about a personality shift is definitely something that I experienced during COVID. I did probably pick up some poor tendencies, but I also feel like as a person, I definitely grew more into myself than I had done previously. Maybe that could be due to isolation, but it could have been other factors as well. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, Helsinki's a mad one as well. Like that's one of the
that is very
not,
niche
like
place
like
as well.
Switzerland as well. I don't know many people who would have opted Switzerland. Helsinki's definitely like I've never heard of anybody wanting to or planning to emigrate to Helsinki. Like it's definitely outside your norms of USA, Australia, Canada, UK.
Can't get more northern than that. You know what I mean?
Well,
so I think that's all the ones we have from Sean. So I will continue on with the other ones. Or do you have any more, Sean? Sorry.
No. Straight over to you now.
Perfect. So a couple of people also sent in DMs, and then I've got 2 voice messages as well. So this person thought about going to Australia at one point. She stated, I'm glad I hadn't taken the plunge because it seems so many go over and it doesn't live up to the Instagram expectations, but would definitely love to enjoy having an experience living abroad, but I don't think I'd permanently move away. Ireland always will be home. So I think again, people maybe see things online and have a perspective of how life is going to be over there, but you actually don't know until you go over here yourself.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think, I don't know, I can't really say that I had the same experience because I didn't really see much of people moving to Switzerland at the time. Of course, we had a bit of a small network here from the previous year when I explained on the previous podcast that you know, we went to Interrail and we stayed at a girl's couch at the time when we were travelling, and we got talking to her, and Nicola went to college with her, shout out to Melina, and we met some people here before, but I wouldn't have said I probably had the same experience of seeing, like, for example, the popular places would be like New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, you know, where more people from Ireland tend to be going now these days. So I get what she's saying about the expectations is.
Yeah. I think I've been hearing that a lot more recently as well, of like people, especially in Australia, that, like, you know, it's not all it's hyped up to be. Like, you know, obviously you're getting great weather and stuff as well, but like I've heard a couple of people have been saying similar things, and, like, you know, I think we've talked about this loads of times on previous podcasts, but, like, you know, being like so far away from family and friends and stuff, like, obviously has a massive impact, and being on like such a different time zone as well. Like, whereas like we've I know we've touched on this before, where like you're quite lucky that, like, you know, if something happened today, like like, you know, it's early enough in the day as we're recording this, you know, you could be home tonight if something happened to anyone, you know. Whereas, like, that's not an option for people, and even, like, you know, the fact you're only an hour ahead in time zone as well, like, you know, so like that kind of options there. Whereas, like, you know, being on the opposite side of the world, and like you said, you had your network and stuff a little bit when you went over there, so you weren't going in like as in the dark as other people are, like, you know, and like you kind of could have come if you got there and decided after a few weeks that you want to come home. It was a bit easier for you to do that than maybe somebody who went to Canada or Australia, like, you know.
Definitely. It's kind of the difference of where you're going to move in the world. You kind of need to think about all them factors that you probably don't even think about until you actually go. But that's why for you to find out if you decide to take that plunge, I suppose. So the next 2, I just have our voice recording. I'm just going to play them through my phone. Just give me 1 second, guys.
Bit of interlude.
Yeah, here we go.
A couple of years ago, me and 2 of the lads were looking at moving away to Canada. We were just going to go for 3 months, but I think the idea that we all were kind of sitting there, like, we'll do the 3 months, well, that's what we're going to tell everybody anyway, and then just kind of maybe stay. So we were kind of looking up stuff. We didn't book anything now, but we were just kind of doing our research and shit, and then that's when COVID hit. A couple of months after, we were to kind of start to put some stuff together to actually, you know, make the steps towards making the move. But look here, COVID hit in the end, and we had to stay. And look, 4 or 5 years later, I know I'm still here. One of the lads has moved away, and now the other lad is still here himself. But me myself, I'm looking to move out to Edinburgh at the end of this year, so still an opportunity there for me to move away. Look, it was a bit upsetting that we didn't get to go. Like, whether it was the right decision or the wrong decision, we don't know, because obviously everything changes with every small decision that you make. So I'm happy where I am now in life. All the people I've met, all the people that are around me now, all the decisions I've made, what I do have and stuff. So in that sense, yeah, it kind of was a good decision not to move away because of what I have now. But, you know, we never know what would have happened if we did actually go away. So look, I'm happy that I'm still here. Happy that I am going to be moving away. It's upsetting that I didn't get to move away in the end, because I would have loved that opportunity with the lads, have that kind of experience. But look, here we are. Yeah, look, obviously I always think about moving away. Like, I am looking at moving away again at the end of this year, just kind of waiting to hear back from a few jobs and stuff. So yeah, like, it's always kind of in the back of my mind. And look, I wouldn't move away if it wasn't for the state of the country and how expensive everything is. Like, otherwise I would probably have just found something here. But look, we have the opportunity to move somewhere else to try build a better life and start something together with my girlfriend. So it's always good to be yeah. Sorry about the him and the hommins and ehs and mehs and sorry bros, if you have to chop that up and out of it, good luck.
Yeah,
We will not be chopping that up nor editing it.
No,
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you.
We do not have enough time in the week.
Another person impacted by COVID. He also talked about sorry, 1 second. Interlude again. I'm just trying to find out what he said, because I found it interesting. So he said, like, 4 or 5 years later, I know I'm still here. And then he talks about all the people that he's met in his life now and the experiences he's had up to date with his life. It's funny to think about I'm here now in Switzerland just over a year. If I hadn't moved away, like, what all them experiences I would have had at home with, like, my friends and my family, it could be completely different. Now, I wouldn't change it, and I'm really enjoying my life here right now currently. But it's always funny when you look back and think about, like, the past year, like, how different it would have been, like, just having experiences at home. Either that, you know, like, stuff I like doing, going to the cinema with my friends, going to concerts, like, you know, seeing your friends, going out and having nights out. Like, it's different to think about how different you would have grown as a person being at home than it is to being away as well, which I think this person's kind of reflecting on a lot lately, because he's thinking about, or he's stating there, that he's moving away to Edinburgh for a better job, a better opportunity for him and his partner.
I think it's interesting to, like, have somebody who wanted to move away years ago and couldn't do it, but now is still planning to go and do it. Like, you know, I think that, like, says a lot about the situation, that, like, the fact that he was in that kind of planning process of, like, trying to make it happen a few years ago, and obviously the pandemic took a knock to it. But, like, I think it's, like, it's crazy that, like, I just think it's a really interesting perspective that 5 years later he still feels like he's in that position where there's nothing here for him, and that's not, like, incorrect as well. Like, you know, it's, like, it's very, very valid, like, you know, because, like, so many people are in that situation, they feel like that, and I don't like, I'm not, like, talking down when I say that. Like, I just think it's, like, a really interesting kind of position to be in, like, you know, where, like, you know, 5 years later, I think that's kind of probably how you know that it is the right time to, well, maybe not the right time, but it's the right decision to get up and go. Like, if after 5 years you still have that itch to get out of Ireland and you know, leave the country, like, you know,
I think a lot of people do it as well, to get the finances to come home. I mean, I'm prime example as that. Myself and Nicola, on a personal level, obviously wanted to move to Switzerland to make some money to come home to buy our house. That was our original plan when we started. But also, you want to enjoy yourself. Come on, like, life isn't just about your finances and getting a house and doing that. You know, it's about the experiences along the way, and it's something I'm kind of trying to reflect along a lot lately. I want to be more, like, spontaneous with stuff, and me and Nick have been talking a lot about it. But I'm saying, like you're saying there, I feel like Irish have always wanted to travel the world as much as possible. Like, we've always been people that have wanted to go explore new cultures, explore new people. And that's not to say other countries aren't like that. I'm just talking about from a perspective of myself being Irish and you yourself, we've always been people that have always been interested in going to see other countries. But for me, nowhere will ever be as home as Ireland. And I think a lot of people probably feel the same. But there's something about the pride of nationalism of being Irish, and I don't mean nationalism in a political sense. I mean nationalism in terms of like why I feel Irish and how you feel Irish and the way we're brought up and the community of Ireland the way it is now. It's not going the way that I would have wanted it to go 5 years from now. Like if I went back 5 years ago, the Ireland that I see now is not the Ireland I probably would have viewed 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar to like what I was talking about before about like pre and post pandemic, like because like even like the first thing that springs to mind for me is like you've a lot more racist right wing assholes in Ireland, more or at least more vocal ones, like people
more
who aren't
vocal,
afraid to like speak up and come here, look, everyone has an opinion and you know, you're entitled to your opinion and all, but like respectfully, if you're a right wing, fuck off. Respectfully, fuck off.
Yeah.
So
there's a difference between nonsense and an opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's stuff that just shouldn't be said, and stuff that, and the way you view things is just not even. It's just humanly wrong. It's not politically, intellectually. It's just the way you view humans is the wrong way.
So said, like. Something that's like been like popping into my head like throughout the episode as well is like Ireland, like the Irish, like since the 50s, the Irish have emigrated, like you know, in massive waves. Like I think that's what you were kind of hinting on, of like, oh, the Irish like to travel, but I think we've always been a country of people that have emigrated to other countries. Like you know, it's why there's such a large Irish population in, you know, even Toon right now, like you know, like you're saying, but like in the UK, in the USA, in Canada, there's such, and Australia obviously as well. Like and that's not just because now, like it was the same in the 50s. Like in the 50s, people emigrated en masse to Manchester, Liverpool, and New York because that's where all the jobs were, because that's where all the docks were. That's because like you know, trade was starting to happen and air travel wasn't where it is now, like you know, so like there was so many jobs available on dockland cities, like you know, it's why Liverpool became particularly popular, and it's probably why now today you've got such a strong kind of connection between Scouse and Irish relations, like you know, it's why you've obviously got massive, like you know, part of like Manchester United supporters, because like it's because like you know, people like obviously they're two very successful teams over the course of history as well, like, but you've got so many people who would have like emigrated over there, come home and brought back jerseys or brought back, you know, stuff, like memorabilia, or maybe people who would have followed them over, like you know, to go and visit them and then gone to a match and that sort of stuff, like you know. But yeah, I feel like Ireland has always been a nation of, like the Irish will always emigrate elsewhere, and you know, with the view like you guys, like I don't know if I could ever like permanently like I'll talk about like my experience and stuff with thinking of emigrating later, but like I don't think I could ever like permanently leave Ireland. Like I don't think I could ever like set up residency and like die in a different country. I'd like to die here, you know.
No, and I'm the same. I still want to come home. I don't think that's going to change for me on a personal level. I just love, I don't know how to I'm still trying to find words for me to explain how much I love Ireland. Especially I appreciate it a lot more from being away. And I think that's why I highly suggest to people to just, even if you have the opportunity, just to do it for 1 year, just to get your own personal experience of how much you miss the people at home, and the place of Ireland as well. Like for me now, like the biggest thing I want to do is when I return home is I want to go travel Ireland, because it made me appreciate how much of the country I haven't seen. I have seen a lot of Ireland, but I mean like I want to truly experience it in terms of see all the parts of Ireland that I I had at my doorstep, but I didn't take the opportunity to do it because of, you know, either life or I was thinking about going, I can go abroad here. Like I think a lot of people take Ireland for granted, being living there. Maybe not consciously, but I think we don't realise how beautiful Ireland as a country and people of hard work we are, because of all the life experiences that are now accessible to us with technology and seeing Instagram and TikTok and Bali and Thailand and all these huge impactful spots now, like that are like into pop culture, you know what I mean? Like how many people, you know, go and travel in Thailand for a month or going off to Asia for a month, you know, we're so lucky now. It's so much easier to travel than it would have been 50 years ago, like you're saying, in the 1950s.
On the opposite side of that, people who aren't Irish, Ireland's like such a like top destination for like for Americans, for people across Europe and stuff. Like Ireland, I feel like people don't realize the significance Ireland has to other countries as well. Like and we obviously see a lot of tourism here. I think it's crazy how much tourism we see here when we don't have particularly nice weather. We don't have like massive historic landmarks in terms of a worldwide scale. Like we obviously have a very like proud Irish history, like that like we know quite a lot about and we're very proud of, like but I don't think a lot of the tourists know about the struggles of James Connolly and Michael Collins and
the genocide,
the stuff that like even things that are the troubles, like which like are very common knowledge over here, but like they're not getting taught obviously in schools elsewhere. But everyone, like I feel like and it's not just because I know it's like the cliche of like the Americans want to come here and stuff, like but like it's a thing globally. Like you have people like from Japan and China who really want to come here, and people from New Zealand that want to see Ireland, and even the English. Like you get quite a lot of English people saying that they want to come over and see the green of Ireland, like and so I've been lucky enough to see quite a lot of Ireland. There's still some places I want to check off, but like I think that also helps me kind of ground myself and say like I love Cork, I love Belfast, I love Galway. I think like they all feel like different countries nearly in themselves. Like they all have very, very different vibes, like
Yeah, different heritage, different culture in different parts of the country. It's great though. It's definitely something I miss and think about a lot. I will take on anyway. I've one more voice recording from someone, and then I'll let Sean talk a bit about his perspective of not choosing to move. Just give me 1 second.
Interlude.
Yeah.
Loving the of the podcast lately. Keep up the good work. But to answer Imran's topic for this week on moving abroad, originally I was planning to go to Canada back in around 2020 with Imran and another friend of ours. Of course, the pandemic hit us then, and it just derailed the whole situation, which was really annoying. And luckily we didn't book anything, no flights or accommodation yet. I know a girl we used to work with, she was planning to go in March of that year, which was around when COVID did hit, and she already said goodbye to friends, family, everything, left her job, and had everything booked, and then had the rug was pulled out from underneath her at the last second, which I'm sure would have been awkward, and thankfully that didn't happen to us. We were planning to go around the end of summer, but again, it was a shame that it didn't happen. And when COVID was finally lifted fully, like our personal situations were different. I started working full time at that point. The lads were still in college, so our priorities changed, and our mindsets and what we wanted to do was different. I do regret, and I still think about what it could have been like going to Canada. Even if I hated it, I think I kind of missed out on that opportunity to see what it's like, because when you live by yourself in a different country, or even with friends, like you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone because you're away from family back home, friends back home, and you're just in a different area. And especially if you go to a country that has a different culture as well, you have to adapt and learn the rules and stuff like that. But it was a shame. I'm not sure if I'll move abroad in the future. The way things are in Ireland, as everyone knows, every year more family, friends, or people you know of are moving abroad because again, the housing crisis doesn't help back here, which it is a shame because you would like to live home. But a lot of people move abroad even just to save up, and it could be in the cards for me in the future, but I'll see. Maybe this time next year I'll be living abroad, or at least planning to, but for the time being I'm kind of going to just wait and see how things go.
Yeah, so another person kind of affected with COVID. This is actually one of my mates, one of my good friends, and we were actually talking on the phone yesterday, and we were just talking because I was asking him to send in a voice message for the podcast, and one thing we kind of were talking about was our friend group growing up. A lot of us now are emigrating or have already emigrated and thinking about it. So you've also got that dynamic of trying to keep connections and friendships moving abroad. And it's something like one of the reasons again why me and Sean started this podcast was not only was it to keep a good friendship between myself and Sean. It was also to show highlights or show awareness to other people that you can keep these friendships as you get older, because it's hard. The amount of lads I know in their 50s and 60s that are severely isolated at times because they're not in golf clubs in Ireland or man sheds or going to the pub and having pints. Like, it's really hard, and that's why something I really now taken seriously is my friendships. I make sure I'm putting in time and effort into them, where when I was younger I probably would have been a bit more relaxed with how I contact people, because me and Sean talked about this before. Sean has friends there that are only down the road, but he probably talks to me more than he would to them, and that's nothing. People are busy, and that's life. Life does get in the way and whatever. But I think, just for me, my perspective, being away from home, it's so important for me to keep them relationships and connections, because if I don't, 2 to 3 years will go past and there'll be no contact. You know what I mean? And then it's very hard to go back to the old friendship that you had when you were 23 and now you're 27, because you've grown in them 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a big thing as well. I'd say for a lot of people, especially I know it was really tough for Nicola to say goodbye. I don't know if her friend wants to be mentioned, but you know exactly who I'm talking about when I say it was really hard for them to separate after being such close friends and seeing each other almost daily for over 10 years at least.
Yeah.
So that's such a big part to it as well. And even it can also stretch the family as well. Because you might have family members that are maybe, let's say, your second cousins, or cousins that you just only see at family functions or events and that sort of stuff. And then when you're not able to attend those things, and then that kind of distance grows further and further, and you could end up going literally 5 to 10 years without talking to some people. I know I haven't had that experience, but I know other people in my family have had that experience, where they didn't speak to people for, not because they weren't because they were having issues around like that, but just because they weren't in the same country. And also we're kind of saying technology is a big factor in it now as well, where before, when they were probably younger, when they were in their 20s or whatever, in the 90s or in the early 2000s now, it wouldn't have been as accessible to just make a phone call, or you couldn't obviously text, or email was still at a very infant stage at that point as well, so it is really tough, because even when you first went, we talked quite a lot when you first went, but I think that was kind of what pushed us to hit the button with the podcast, because we had always planned on doing it even before Imran even discussed moving away. We were always thinking about doing this, but it gave us an angle, it gave us an in, a unique selling point, so to speak. And you said there yourself as well, we talk constantly now, whereas if we didn't have this, we were just it was going from every couple of days to once a week, and then it was going from once a week to every 10 days, and then every 2 weeks, and it's just because people get busy, and it's really important for people on both sides to understand, and this is why I'm very grateful for you and Nicola and some other friends I have abroad as well, but people on both sides, because I've seen it from people who were, I don't want to say left behind, but people who didn't emigrate, or didn't follow that person, and they get really annoyed that they haven't kept up. It's that person, it could be trying to learn a new language, trying to adapt to a new culture, new job, and it's they've so much going on over there, as well as trying to in your situation, set up an apartment or find an apartment, or juggle all these things, and that's without maybe a prior, obviously you and Nicola had each other over there, but if you go over there by yourself, it makes it, you'd think, oh, that's more of a reason for them to contact you at home, but that's also a reason for when they're there, they want to be out meeting people, because they don't want to be isolated at home,
Yeah, definitely. And what about you, on a personal level? Why do you feel that you never actually took the leap?
I honestly, when I finished college, I never really went into a planning phase with it, or heavily was I want to, because I've always been very I feel I have always been where you are right now. I've always been like a big lover of Ireland, and I've always wanted to like to travel Ireland, which I have done quite a lot. And I just love it here too much, and like to a certain extent, like because I'd always kind of grown up supporting myself. Like I'd always had like jobs and stuff to kind of keep me going, to keep me ticking away, and like that maybe that was like the responsibility thing holding me down. I was like, oh no, I've got my job here, and I want to do the traditional route of like finishing school, going to college, getting a degree, and doing that sort of stuff. But it's only now that like we don't have a mortgage, we're renting, like that we're renting a place, and that we pay for our food bill every week, that and you're trying to put money aside, but it gets so hard when every month you've got such a large chunk of your wage um going out to like your food shop and your rent and all these things. Yeah, just all your expenses, and like it gets like tighter and tighter. I think like a big part of it for me was like I still had that kind of like naivety of it. I hadn't really thought about it much, and when before me and Simone got together, I got with Simone after like while I was still in college, like like I was in my final year, so like like I think from that point as well, it became a thing of like me and Simone had to be on the same page about it. And when I got told I had to move out of the house I was living in last year, it was something that we considered, like, but never really planned out. Like, we considered, like, we talked about places that we would maybe want to live, and like, should we start looking into it? But then our house situation became apparent, and like, we ended up having the place that we live in now. Like, so, and we're very lucky to be in the position that we're in as well. But I think the big thing that would stop me is that like I love Ireland too much, but I also do think if I wasn't in a relationship with Simone now, and if I didn't have like the house that I have now, I think I would definitely be planning it at this point, like because like now at this point now, like it's not even just like that, but it's like I also have like my bands that I play with as well, and I've also spent a long time building up like connections and stuff here and networking here in Ireland, whereas like I would have to kind of start that from scratch if I was to move over to like London or Canada or anywhere else, like
Definitely. I think it's them factors you don't really think about until you're in the situation where you're about to move, or even sometimes you start coming to conclusion about things when you actually do move. For me, like my thoughts from moving the first 3 months out of the way to now being in a year and 2 or 3 months away, they're completely different ends of the scale. At the start it was all about how am I going to get a job, how am I going to get an apartment, all these little they're major things that you need to nail down when you move away, because you won't be able to survive without it. That's just life. And now it's like the opposite end of the scale, where I am lucky enough to have a job. Nicola has a good job. We're both settled. We're starting to build connections in the community. Like doing five-a-side. Now it's more thinking about how am I going to keep these connections going at home? Am I staying in contact enough with family? What am I going to do while I'm here? Like, am I going to do courses? So it's interesting seeing like the way I think a whole year on from now, how I look back and this situation and the way I was thinking. So I think a lot of people do that even without moving away, which I think you probably just done there, where you're thinking about if me and Simone weren't together, and if I didn't have these finances, and if I didn't have my band, like how would you be thinking about it differently to them? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like I think I would definitely be considering it, but like for me at the moment it's like that, it's a last like
resort
kind of
thing,
last resort
option.
kind of thing. Not and like that's not to say it's like not unattractive, or like I don't admire you for taking that plunge. It's just like for me, it's just it's not the route for me. But like because I used to always like cite like family was a big reason why I wouldn't and stuff. But then like after the stuff that's happened over the last kind of year or two with my mom dying and stuff, and it's kind of you see sides of people for better and for worse as well. Like I would always like like, oh, I don't know if I would be able to leave this person, but then after kind of seeing how they were able to handle certain situations, like, oh, maybe they could be left, or a lot of things kind of like came around. Like, but I do think like if if something was to happen tomorrow and me and Simone were not able to live together, or like if we broke up or something like that, I think it's something that like I would maybe consider, because I don't know if I would want to go back to like living in a box room with my grandparents.
Yeah,
Like, you know, I just
yeah,
don't think I don't think I could mentally go back to that. You
yeah,
know, and like it's like also like a survivor's instinct as well. Like, you know, where like I went into that situation because like it was like the only option available to me. Whereas like now, because like I've worked full time for a few years, I've got a bit of experience under my belt. Like, you know, whereas like when I moved into that box room, I'd only ever worked like behind the till in the shop. Like, you know, whereas like now, at least if a similar situation was to ever arise, I would have a bit of experience. I would have a degree, you know, a little bit of money behind me that I could, like, you know, book a flight one way and see what happens. Like, you know, but it's like I said, like it's not something like I love what I have right now. Like, you know, like what you have. Like, you know, you can go to sleep with your partner every night and feel comfortable and feel safe. That's all you can ask for. And I love having that, and I love I love where my life kind of is right now. Like, you know, like I'm really happy that, like, you know, I'm at the age that I'm at and what I have, and like I know I'm very lucky to have what I have as well. Like, you know, so
yeah.
that, like, you know, that's the main reason. But for me, but like I do think then if this was to get turned on its head, I definitely think it's probably an avenue I would explore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one thing I just wanted to touch on before you finish up was just because I've been thinking about it a lot, because someone said it to me at work and it was just an interesting aspect, is like seeing your friends that you went to school with or like were brought up with and then not speaking for so long and then going back to see them. It's so different to see how people are. Like, some people are maybe stuck in the ways and they're the same person that they've met since they've been in school, or you might meet someone and they're completely different and a completely new person, you know, in themselves and thriving. It's just a weird complexity that I have to try to understand when I do come home and I'm starting to meet friends again, that maybe our connection, our interest and friendships is completely different to the way it was when we were in school. You know, like, you still reminisce and you have the laugh and you talk about old times and stuff like that, but you do need to come into comprehending, like, some people are going to be a bit more how am I trying to say this, like a bit more mature, or maybe they're, you know, they find things not funny in a different way now in the humor style, and again, that's why I feel like it's so important for me to keep up connections with people at home, because then I don't have that shell shock of when I do see someone, how I communicate them on a human level, like where's like the line where we fit in between.
It's crazy, like, because like that's such a priority for you, like, and understandably so. And not that it's not a priority for me, but I think about it less because, like you said earlier, like I'm 20 minutes away from some of my friends that I grew up with in school that I don't see like weekly or I don't talk to weekly. But like if I texted one of my mates, be like, "Oh, do you fancy going for something to eat or coffee or a drink or whatever?" Like, you know, I can be there in 20 minutes and grab them, or like, you know, like vice versa, we can meet in town or something like that. But like I've had that even still, like, you know, on both ends, where like you meet when your mates and like they're the exact same person, and that can sometimes be comforting, and it can sometimes also be like, you know, you kind of look at yourself and go, "Oh, I've come a long way," and you know, you can see like a couple of different perspectives on it, and then like the opposite, then, like, you know, you can, like, you know, meet up with somebody who you haven't met up with. Like, I've often gone like a year without meeting up with a mate, and not because of that, and other than like just busy and can't fit the time in, like, you know. And like then they're like a totally, like, you know, they've got so much going on in their life, and they're like, not that they're a different person, but there's just so much new things. It's almost hard to like catch up in one like sit down dinner with everything that's going on, so you kind of have to just give like the basic highlights, like, you know.
Yeah, it's really hard to like fair like all the experiences I had in 3 years into one dinner that lasts maybe 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Interesting though. Interesting. I think that's all I have from our listeners. But it's been nice though. It's been a good topic to explore, I think.
Yeah. Thank you very much to everyone who sent their clips in, and thank you very much to anybody who sent a clip in and did listen to the rest of the podcast and then just sign off once their message was read.
We got your view.
Thank you. We appreciate you and the guys in is it Algeria that are listening?
Yeah, Algeria, and then next week I'll do a map and we can explore all the countries that we have for viewers from. So shout out to Algeria.
Fucking Dora the Explorer over here.
Yeah. I've been wanting me and Nicola to do Diego and Dora for Halloween for like the past like 4 years, and she still won't do it with me. It just makes sense. It makes sense.
We keep threatening to do Shrek and Fiona.
Yeah,
And then
that.
Simone really wants, especially, to put Xena in like a donkey costume and have me as Shrek, because like it's just Xena gives donkey vibes.
Yeah.
And then you know, like the scenes of like Donkey and Shrek, like, you know, crossing with the that song by the Proclaimers, and I'm on my way to happiness, like, you know, like that kind of mark. Like that's how Xena follows me around the house, or like when we're on walks and stuff. Like she doesn't ever go more than like 5 meters away from me, like, you know. So it's just, it gives similar vibes.
Shout out to the Shrek lovers.
Yeah, oh man, Shrek's class. We love a bit of Shrek. Yeah, but I think that is probably the best place to wrap up this episode. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Distance Dilemma podcast. This is episode number 25 of our long distance friendship podcast. If it is your first time listening to us because your voice note was sent in, do please consider sticking around. We don't just talk about football and being lonely fuckers all the time. We do we do diverse in topics, but we like to do these special topics every couple of weeks because, you know, we like to kind of keep things on brand with the whole distance thing. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. My name is Sean. I am in Dublin, Ireland. This has been Imran. He's in Switzerland. This has been our long distance friendship podcast. I'm going to hand you over to Imran for his final remarks.
Yeah, he was running out of words there. Yeah, we are a product of our environment, so that's exactly the topic for this podcast. Thank you so much for everyone that sent in the voice messages, and looking forward to next week.
Okay, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next Monday at 6 a.m. Irish time, 7 a.m. Central European time. That's when they come out. Okay, thanks. Bye.